The night air felt heavy as if holding his breath. Two hearts reunited amidst the silence. Jungkook stood frozen in front of the door, his eyes fixed on Taeyong's slowly turning figure. There was no smile, no explanation, only a silence that pressed against his chest, making it difficult to breathe. All this time, Jungkook had believed that Taeyong's silence was a form of love that beneath the emptiness, there were still the same feelings as before. But that night, all that belief shattered with just one simple sentence. "Goodbye, Jungkook." It wasn't the tone of his voice that shattered Jungkook, nor were the words too ordinary for a goodbye. What shattered him was the way Taeyong said it calmly, without wavering, without any trace of emotion, as if Jungkook were just someone who had passed through his life for a brief moment. Taeyong's steps moved away, and every second felt like a fragment of a memory stabbing into Jungkook's heart. He wanted to scream, wanted to hold back, but his voice sounded strange in his throat. And as the door closed behind Taeyong, Jungkook realized silence could be more deadly than 1,000 goodbyes. Jungkook remained standing in the same spot. Time seemed to stop. Only his heartbeat could be heard, chaotic and irregular, as if denying the reality of what had just happened. He stared at the now closed door, hoping Taeyong would return, knock, and tell him it was all just a bad joke. But the minutes passed, and the silence grew more oppressive. His hand went to his chest, the place where Taeyong's laughter had once resided. Now, only an empty space remained, trembling with loss. Jungkook lowered his head, his lips trembling, and he softly said the name. Taeyong. The sound shattered in the air, like glass falling to the floor. He walked to the window, staring up at the night sky that seemed to be laughing at him. Rain began to fall slowly, and each drop felt like it was replacing his lost tears. Why does it have to be so simple? He murmured. Why can just 2 words destroy everything we have? Outside, behind the dim street lights, Jungkook caught a glimpse of Taeyong's figure walking away. The black umbrella in his hand obscured his face, but her steps, they were all too familiar. But Taeyong didn't look back, not even once. And that's when Jungkook truly understood. Their love was over not because of a big fight, not because of a lie, but because someone finally stopped fighting in silence. The rain hadn't stopped. The drops danced on the window pane, creating a rhythm that Taeyong had always loved. Jungkook was still there, sitting on the living room floor, staring at a cup of tea that had long since cooled. That cup, Taeyong had bought it for them on their first anniversary. Everything in the room was still the same, except for the presence of someone who now remained only in his memory. Taeyong. Jungkook's voice was barely audible, as if afraid to break the fragile silence. He closed his eyes, letting his thoughts drift back to the days when everything was simpler. Taeyong smiling in the afternoon light, greeting him with a laugh that always managed to soothe him. Taeyong silently jotting down little things about him, his favorite drink, his habit of biting his lip when nervous, even the way he always looked up at the sky before bed. All of that used to feel eternal, until slowly, a distance began to grow between them. At first, it was brief silences, then fewer conversations, and finally, tonight a complete separation. Jungkook opened his eyes. He knew that no matter how hard he tried to turn back time, Taeyong wouldn't come back. But his heart refused to believe it. Every corner of this house still whispered his name. Every gust of wind still carried the scent of the perfume that once clung to Taeyong's jacket. He stood slowly, walking to the shelf near the door. There, a photo of the two of them hung smiling by the beach. Hands clasped together, Jungkook stroked the frame with trembling fingers. "See you later, okay?" he said softly, even though he knew no answer would come. Outside, lightning flashed, and amidst the echoes of the thunder, Jungkook felt something inside him break for the final time. That same night, across town, Taeyong sat on a park bench, staring up at the still rain-covered sky. His black umbrella now lay on the ground, letting the drops of water wet his hair and face. He held something in his hand, the silver bracelet Jungkook had once put on his wrist. The night they promised not to leave each other. A promise that was now just a memory. "I'm sorry, Jungkook," he whispered softly. His voice was drowned in the sound of the rain, but his chest felt tight, like something was stuck in his throat, something he couldn't say. Not because he didn't want to stay, but because he knew that sometimes love can hurt, even when we don't mean to. Taeyong loved Jungkook, that never changed. But over time, that love made them lose themselves in each other. The once free and bright Jungkook began to fade, always afraid of losing him, always trying to hold on. And Taehyung, he himself began to drown in an inexplicable guilt. He'd tried to fix everything, talking, comforting, enduring, but every word he spoke only deepened the pain, until he finally realized that perhaps staying silent and leaving was the only way for them both to breathe again. However, the moment the word goodbye left his lips, Taehyung's world also collapsed. He stared at the bracelet on his hand, his fingers trembling as he took it off and set it on the bench. If one day you find her again, he said softly, it means I'm truly okay. And I hope you are too. The rain grew heavier. Amidst the drizzle, Taehyung's face fell not because he regretted leaving, but because he realized how much the separation had hurt him more than he had imagined. Autumn has arrived again, bringing with it the scent of wet earth and dry leaves falling along the streets. Seoul remains the same, bustling, busy, and full of memories that time cannot erase. Jungkook walks slowly through the crowd, his hands tucked into his coat pockets. His gaze is blank, but his steps are sure. He is no longer the young man who once cried easily over love. But inside him, there is a small part that has never healed, a part that still silently calls out one name. *Taehyung. He stopped searching for him a long time ago. Not because he stopped loving, but because he finally understood. Some goodbyes are not meant to be repaired, only remembered. But fate is strange. Just as he stopped looking back on the past came rushing back. In a small art gallery in the Itaewon district, Jungkook stepped inside due to a sudden downpour. He looked around. The white walls were covered in paintings, most of them depicting the night sky, the sea, and a lone figure standing in the rain. And at the end of the room, he saw someone. A face that once existed only in dreams now stood before him. Taehyung. Time has indeed changed many things. His hair is longer, his gaze more mature, but that small smile remains the same. The smile that once could calm the storm in Jungkook's chest. The two of them were frozen. There was no hug, no tears, just a long silence that spoke louder than anything else. It was Taehyung who finally broke it. It's been a long time, hasn't it? His voice was soft, almost trembling. Jungkook simply nodded. His eyes fell on the painting behind. Taehyung, a night sky with two stars in the right corner. One dim, the other still shining brightly. Is that your painting? Jungkook asked softly. Taehyung smiled faintly. Yes, the dim one is me. He looked at Jungkook and added, the bright one is you. Jungkook fell silent. There were 1,000 words he wanted to say, but they all felt futile between them. Because now, he realized they were no longer two people who had lost each other. They were two souls who had finally come to terms with their respective wounds. The rain outside stopped, and for the first time in years, Jungkook smiled, not because he was happy, but because he could finally let go. That night, after the exhibition ended, Taehyung and Jungkook walked outside together. The air was still humid, raindrops lingered on the street, and the city lights cast golden hues in the puddles. They walked aimlessly, like two shadows once lost and now meeting again at a crossroads in time. Neither spoke for a few minutes, only slow steps and hearts trying to adjust their beats. Until finally, Jungkook spoke up. I used to hate you. His tone was calm, but honest. Taehyung smiled faintly, without looking up. I know. I thought you left because you didn't love me anymore, Jungkook continued, looking up at the sky that was starting to fill with stars. But after a while, I realized, maybe? The words fell quietly, but they stabbed deeply. Jungkook lowered his head, swallowing the feelings that were swirling in his chest again. And now? He asked softly. Taehyung took a deep breath. Now, I want us to be happy, even if not together. Silence fell again. But this time, it wasn't a painful silence. It was a silence of understanding. Jungkook looked at Taehyung's face for the last time that night. There were no tears, no anger, only gratitude slowly replacing the hurt. Thank you for coming, Jungkook said. And thank you for leaving, Taehyung replied. They smiled, to once broken hearts, now reconciled under the same sky. As they walked away in opposite directions, a gentle breeze carried a faint sound, like a whisper only their hearts could understand. Love doesn't always have to be owned to survive. Sometimes, It's enough to be remembered, and let it grow quietly within the soul. Asterisk. Jungkook now lives in a small apartment on the outskirts of town. His walls covered with photos of the scenery he's taken during his travels.